हाँ, so वो वाला full screen. बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम. अस्सलाम वालेकुम बच्चों, क्या हाल चाल है? So after giving the structure of the physiological anatomy of the heart and the overview of the autonomic nervous system, now I will tell you about the how the action potential is generated in the heart muscle. So the action potential in the heart muscle is different from the action potential in the pacemaker, as you know. So first of all, I will tell you about how the action potential is generated in the cardiac muscle. Once the impulse is generated from the SN node and reaches the cardiac muscle, what is the pattern of action potential in the cardiac muscle? So in the this is the pattern of action potential in the cardiac muscle. In the heart muscle, this is the you may find the difference between action potential in the skeletal muscle, and there are many difference between the action potential in the skeletal muscle and the nerve fibers from that in the cardiac muscle. So the just like the skeletal muscle, the resting membrane potential is again minus 90, and it is because again because of the leak potassium channels and the sodium potassium pump restores the resting membrane potential to minus 90. Now the after the from minus 90 the potential is whenever the impulse from the SN node enters into the cardiac muscle, there is some leakiness of the sodium ion which brings the resting membrane potential of minus 90 to minus 70. So once minus 70 threshold is achieved, the first phase of depolarization is called phase 0. Please don't forget, this is not phase 1. The phase of depolarization is phase 0, in which you know that there is fast voltage gated sodium channels is open and causes influx of the sodium ion, and this occurs in 10,000s of second. They are very fast to open. They are voltage gated channels which when the voltage reaches minus 70, and that is the threshold, the fast voltage gated sodium channels open and there will be influx of sodium ion inside, and that causes phase 0, which is called the depolarization phase, and brings the potential from minus 90 to plus 30. And as you know that when it reaches a plus 30, the fast sodium channels, they close, and you know that the slow potassium channel, they are slow to open. They have started opening to open, and so when the fast sodium channels they close, the next phase started, which is called the phase. This is phase 1, when the fast sodium channels they close and the potassium channels will open, which causes efflux of potassium ion. It causes the opening of the voltage gated potassium channels, they open and causes efflux of the potassium channels, which causes the initial repolarization of the action potential, which is called the phase 1. Now soon after this, the sodium channels are opening and there's efflux of potassium ion, there is simultaneously the opening of the voltage gated or the slow calcium channels. There will be opening of the long lasting calcium channels, which causes influx of the calcium ion. Now this phase, this plateau phase, is called phase 2, in which equal amount of potassium ion is going out and equal amount of calcium ion is coming in. So there will be no change in the voltage, and this phase is called the plateau phase, which is phase 2. So after some time, the long lasting calcium channels, they will close and there will be just efflux of the voltage gated potassium channel will remain open, and the efflux of the potassium ion will continue. So it causes the start of phase 3, which is the phase of repolarization. and then it when reaches the -70, then the phase 4, which is called the restoration of resting membrane potential. So this is the phase 4. So we have 4 phases in the action potential of the cardiac muscle. The phase 0, which is the depolarization phase, which is due to the opening of the fast voltage gated sodium channels, which causes influx of the sodium ion. And when it reaches the voltage 30, this fast sodium channels will close, and the opening of the potassium channels, which causes efflux of the potassium ion, which causes the initial repolarization, which is phase 1. Then soon after that, the slow long lasting calcium channels will open, in which the equal amount of potassium ion are going out and equal amount of calcium channels are coming in, which is leads to plateau phase, which is phase 2. When the phase 2, then the calcium channels will close, and just there will be efflux of the potassium ion and causes phase 3, which is the repolarization phase. And then finally, when the restoration of the resting membrane potential to -90. So there are 4 phases. 0, depolarization. Initial repolarization is phase 1. Then is plateau phase, which is phase 2, sustained repolarization. And at the phase 3, which is repolarization. And then post is the restoration of the resting membrane potential, again by the potassium leach channels and the sodium potassium pump. So this is the pattern of action potential in the cardiac muscle. I hope you understand. Now this diagram is again showing the role of different ions, and while in the exam when you are asked to draw the action potential in the you have to draw in a proper manner, showing the membrane change in the membrane potential on the longitudinal axis, the time period on the horizontal axis. You have to show the phases as well as the effect of different ions, which ions are opening and which ions close. So here again they will be showing um, the fast sodium channels opening. Then we have the potassium channels open, the calcium channels open, and then the potassium channels open, which causes efflux. So again showing the same diagram, which is showing the opening of the different channels in the action potential of the ventricular muscle. Now, just like the skeletal muscles, once the action potential is traveling along the surface of the cardiac muscle, it has to go deep down into the cardiac muscle. So just like the skeletal muscle, the heart muscles also have the T tubules, through which the action potential it penetrates deep into the deep into the muscles. So in case of cardiac muscle, there are two things to remember, that in the case of cardiac muscle, the sarcoplasmic reticulum is not that well developed. Two things to remember, that in the cardiac muscle, the sarcoplasmic reticulum is not that well developed. So the calcium stored here is not significant for the contraction of the cardiac muscle. And second thing to remember is that the T tubules, the diameter of the T tubules is 5 times greater than the skeletal muscles. This T tubule diameter is 5 times greater than the skeletal muscle, whereas the sarcoplasmic reticulum is less well developed than the skeletal muscle. So, and the contraction of the skeletal muscle is more dependent on the presence of excess calcium ion in the extracellular fluid. So if there is less, if the heart muscle is present, is kept in a solution with less calcium ion, the heart will stop beating. So it is not only less dependent on the calcium ion stored in the sarcoplasmic reticulum, and it is more dependent on the calcium ion which is present in the extracellular fluid. So when the action potential, this is the cardiac muscle, and when it travels along the surface, it enters deep down into the T tubules, and so it causes the opening of these dihydropyridine receptors, which causes influx of the calcium ion from the ECF into the ICF, and that causes opening of the ranitidine receptor, which causes release of the calcium ion which is stored in the sarcoplasmic reticulum to release into the ICF. Now this calcium ion, this is called the calcium spar. The amount of calcium ion that is released for each contraction of the cardiac muscle is called the calcium spark. Now, this calcium ion released from the sarcoplasmic reticulum as well as from the ECF will act on the troponin C, just like in the skeletal muscle. And when they act on the troponin C, it causes the cross linkages between the myosin and actin filament and causes contraction of the uh, uh, of the um, of the heart muscle and causes a prolonged contraction of this excess calcium ion in the ECF responsible for the prolonged contraction of the cardiac muscle. Now, when the contraction is over, this calcium ion which is released from the sarcoplasmic reticulum and that has come from the ixia has to be sent back. So this is the calcium ion that has come from the calcium ion will be sent back into the calcium to the calcium pump which is present in the on the surface of the sarcoplasmic reticulum. Why we need to have a calcium ATPase pump? Because usually the calcium concentration in the sarcoplasmic reticulum is more and it is less in the ICF. So the calcium has to move against the concentration gradient. So we need to have calcium pump and we need to have ATP to pump that release calcium ion back into the sarcoplasmic reticulum. Moreover, the calcium that was came from the ECF has to be sent back into the ECF. Again, the concentration gradient will be created by the sodium potassium ATPase pump that will causes the that helps in the efflux of calcium ion back into the ECA by calcium sodium counter transport. Sodium will come inside and that calcium ion will go inside. The sodium is more outside, so it is moving along the concentration gradient, and the energy release will help the calcium ion to move against the calcium gradient from the ICF into the ECF. So this is the excitation contraction coupling. When the action potential travels along the surface of the cardiac impulse, the calcium ion comes from the ECF, from the sarcoplasmic reticulum. It causes a contraction of the skeletal muscle, and after the contraction, that calcium ion will be pumped back into sarcoplasmic reticulum by calcium pump, and in back into the ECF by the calcium sodium counter transport. Sodium influx and calcium will move out against the concentration gradient. So this is excitation contraction coupling in the case of cardiac muscle. Now we talk about the refractory period. You know what is a refractory period? Refractory period is the time period in which no second impulse can be generated. So you know that the refractory period is of two types, the absolute refractory period and the relative refractory period. The absolute refractory period is the period in which the no action potential can be generated no matter how strong the impulse may be. Whereas the relative refractory period is the period in which a stronger, a supranormal action potential can be generated if can be generated with a suprathreshold stimulus. So the in case of in cardiac muscle, the refractory period is much prolonged as compared to the skeletal muscle. The things to understand that the refractory period is present both in skeletal muscle and the cardiac muscle. It is, but in cardiac muscle it is much prolonged. Why it is much prolonged? Because to the heart has as a pump to ensure the effective pumping of the heart, the cardiac muscle have to pump for a longer period of time, to contract for a longer period of time. So it has a prolonged refractory period so that a second action potential cannot be generated for a stimulus. So and atria, in case of a total refractory period in the heart muscle, is 250 to 300 milliseconds, whereas in the nerve muscle it is 100 milliseconds. So it is, you can imagine how almost 3 times greater than the in the skeletal muscle. It is 100 millisecond, where it is 250 to 300 millisecond. The refractive period in case of atria is 0.150 milliseconds, or we can say 0.15 seconds. In the case of ventricles, it is 250 milliseconds, or you can say 0.25 seconds. And the Purkinje fiber, it is 300 milliseconds. Now, out of total this absolute refractive period, out of total of 250 to 300 milliseconds of the refractive period, absolute refractive period is about 200 milliseconds, whereas the relative refractive period is just 50 milliseconds. Now, what is the, I told you, what is the usefulness of this prolonged refractive period. Don't forget the word prolong. Whenever you ask in the paper the refractive period of the cardiac muscle, you have to mention that it is a prolonged refractive. Just don't write it is a refractive period, because refractive period is also present in the skeletal muscle. The difference is that it is a very prolonged refractive period to ensure a sustained myocardial infarction. It to ensure an effective pump of the heart, and because of this property that it has a sustained myocardial contraction, the heart muscle does not exhibit tetanization, which is the property of the skeletal muscle, in which the multiple stimulus can they because of the property of summation, they can exhibit the property tetanization. But since it has a very prolonged refractive period, the cardiac muscle does not exhibit tetanization. The tetanization cannot occur in the cardiac muscle. It is a protective measure in the heart, because if due to any reason increased calcium ion, there may be chances of tetanization, and heart may go stand still. So it is a preventive thing which prevents the tetanization in the heart. Now the propagation of the action potential in the heart muscle through circuits of the current, and this I will told you later on. Now the cardiac muscle also have a property of all and none law. All and none law, you know that either it impulse is generated, it will generate throughout the cardiac muscle, or there will be no generation of the cardiac muscle. So this is called all and none law. So this diagram is again showing you the period of the refractive period. This is the absolute refractive period, and this last part is the relative refractive period. And you see that this is a premature contraction. That any abnormal stimulus, any excessive stimulus generated action potential, but it does not lead to tetanization. There is no does not have a property of summation. This is you will come to know about premature contraction in the lectures later on. So this is the premature contraction. Just to tell you the refractive, the duration of the extent of the absolute refractive period and the relative refractive period. This is the extent of the. This includes, although no plateau has been mentioned here, but it means that it includes also the plateau phase, and the last 1/3 part is the relative refractive period, and the whole this depolarization and the plateau phase all includes comprises of the absolute refractive period. So this is all about today, but I'm not telling you about the action potential we take in the essay note. Just first listen this. If you understand this, give me the feedback. If you find any difficulty, you may share with me on the WhatsApp group. I have told the CR have told you we will create a group in which you may ask questions about this. So if any question, tell me that. And the action potential generated in the essay node, and then the propagation of the action potential in the cardiac muscle, I will teach you tomorrow, inshallah. So this is all.